panelist panel here today to discuss the key opportunities that Pakistan can provide to the continent. I'd like you to come and invite the panel and perhaps moderate the panel for the next 30 minutes, if that's possible.
Sure, would love to do that. Thank you. So while I'm just changing my... Can you guys hear me fine? All right. So thank you for that opportunity to briefly share with this audience the potential of Pakistan's startup ecosystem that we barely touched, because there's so much more to talk about but very limited time. And I have this honor of welcoming a great panel here to talk more about the potential opportunities in the tech destination that is Pakistan. So I'd like to invite Fatma Asad Said. She's the CEO of Abacus Consulting. Please, if you could join us. I'd like to invite Mr. Junaid Imam. He's the member of the Ministry of IT and Telecom, the Government of Pakistan. Thank you. And I'd like to invite Mr. Nasir Akhtar, the CEO and founder of Infotech, and Mr. Zuhaib Khan, the chairman of Pakistan IT industry, also known as Pasha. Thank you. So we talked about that there's a lot of potential, and one of the reasons is it's a huge population, and a lot of us are quite young. More than 75% are quite young. A lot of good universities are churning out good talent around computer science graduates, engineering students that are coming out. And we understand the West market very well, where we have sold a lot of our products and services. We understand the Middle East very well. So I think there are lots of opportunities, but let's ask the people here in the panel of a few. I'll start with you, Junaid. What are the government's plans to support the growth of the tech industry? And I'd like to mention that this is indeed a part of that great plan. We are here. We were in Riyadh at Leap some time back. We were in Dubai at GITEX last year. And I know you're headed to more destinations, right? So what are the plans? How is the government supporting the growth of the IT industry?
Okay. Thank you, Fazil. And hi, everyone. So the government right now is taking Pakistan as a company. So if you want to grow the business of a company, you have to look at the supply side and you have to look at the demand side. So on the demand side, you have to brand, you have to market, and on the supply side, for the tech sector, human capital is the raw material. You have to work on the supply side as well. So right now we are working both on the supply side and on the demand side. So like you saw the numbers, so almost 140 million population below the age of 30. So if we are able to channelize their energies, they are a source of the supply for the world, for the tech world, and they are a source of earning for the country. So it's a win-win proposition for Pakistan and for other countries. So that's the direction that we are following, and we have a target to create almost 1 million tech professionals in the next 3 to 4 years. A big target, but that's the demand we are seeing. The cybersecurity, AI, blockchain, we see there is a serious challenge of availability of human resource. So that's one area that we are focusing, and we would like to meet the requirement of the world, and at the same time Pakistan as well. And on the other hand, it's very important for us to make the world realize the potential that we have, and that's why we are traveling across the globe, taking our companies and making the world understand the potential. And I would like to just highlight one thing. Pakistan was able to manage COVID very well, and our exports grew around 50% during COVID. So the outsourcing managers in Europe and US, they say they consider Pakistan as a resilient nation which can deliver in disaster and in pandemics. So we are capitalizing on that aspect as well, and making our supply side more robust, so that if there is any global disaster or any situation, because we will be heavily relying on the digital technologies as the time passes. So if there are serious challenges on that front, I think our overall ecosystem, our way of living will be affected. So we want to be a contributor of the world. So that's the direction that we are following.
Thank you, Junaid. And it's a great notion that the Minister of Pakistan's Information Technology is also here, and so is the senior leadership from the government departments, and you're going from one destination to other to making the case for why invest or why work with Pakistani tech ecosystem. Good luck for the next stops. Building on this further, I'd like to ask you, Fatma, what are the emerging technologies that most of the IT companies in Pakistan are embracing and working on, and that should be an opportunity for the folks here in the audience also to know that there are companies in Pakistan, and what are those emerging techs that they're working on.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to share our own experience. As a firm, as Abacus as well, with a 35-year history and legacy in terms of driving world-class solutions and also looking at opportunities and also identifying what businesses require in order to stay relevant and in order to stay sustainable. And I believe from that particular perspective, Pakistan is very well placed in terms of the ecosystem that has developed over the last few years, whether it is through cloud and emerging technologies or transformative technologies on the AI, RPA, Internet of Things. It is extremely heartening to note that there is not only significant investment in terms of startups as well as larger corporations that are focusing on building this particular ecosystem, but also there is investors' confidence which are enabling these businesses to grow. That could be international as well as the local investor climate, which has allowed some of these organizations to spearhead and build momentum. We see that happening quite aggressively over the last few years, despite the challenges that may be there from an economic perspective. But the heartening aspect to notice, which is facilitation of businesses who have a track record to collaborate and partner with organizations who are focused on building future technologies. So I believe over the last few years, there is a concerted effort of stakeholders at the government level, at the corporate level as well, to build tech talent, which will focus on future technologies of reskilling and upskilling. So when we have a technology stack or a service offering, which is not just relevant to Pakistan, but it is relevant to the rest of the world, whether it is Middle East, Africa, North America, etc., it is cognizant of the fact that technology requirements and technology solutions are independent of which region that the expertise that we have is independent of which region we service. As long as there is an understanding of the culture and local context, as long as there's value that is being added to that particular market, and as long as there's consistency of quality that is delivered. So I believe that it is a very wide, broad spectrum of tech solutions which are being not only offered but delivered across regions. And we're very well placed in Pakistan to do that.
Thank you, Fatma. So indeed, a lot of Web3 startups recently emerged. A lot of folks are working on blockchains, developing metaverses. RP is being used. A lot of AI R&D, I know personally, is happening for some big companies, even telecom companies in the US that are sending this kind of business to Pakistan. So indeed, the emerging tech is a growing area, and a lot of expertise are coming up. Coming to you, Nasir Saab. So you've been working, your company's been working in government to citizen services and capital market technologies and cybersecurity. And you also have a clientele here in this region. Where do you see more growth in this region? And whether it is in the digitization of citizen-centric services or automations of government, and how do you see the pace of it?
Thank
Thank you, Fasi. Let me start with the confession or a disclosure. The amount of miles I traveled to and from Africa over the past 10 years is double than what I did over the past 30 years for the rest of the world. So that says something. 1.2 billion population with a collective GDP of over $3.5 trillion obviously offers something. Particularly in the space of digital governance, and whether it's a private sector or the governments, there is a huge gap to be filled in for the economic and social well-being of 1.2 billion people, regardless of the diversity of the culture, languages, and all that. I mean, I have, to be honest with you, sometimes I feel like a blind dog in a neat house. What to do? I mean, we sometimes feel short of capacity because the governments are desperate to roll out their digital agendas to improve the lives of the people across Africa. So the potential is obviously there, and the expertise that we have been able to acquire over the past 10 years, I mean, let me start with the kind of analogy and the approach we take. We try to become part of the thought process of every nation, identify the key issues, low-hanging fruits, and provide them solutions which are fit for their use cases. So, I mean, my experience has been wonderful. The governments across Africa, they are very keen to accelerate the process of rolling out digital services for their citizens, whether it's G2B services or G2C services. The platforms are populating, integrations are happening, data harmonization and regulatory harmonizations are taking place across all the regions of Africa. And I'm really excited, and they do appreciate what you do as we bring diverse experience from the rest of the world in order to map the solutions which are not only cost effective but best suited for their environments.
Thank you, and we wish you good luck in the many more such deals coming your way and towards more Pakistan businesses, Pakistani IT businesses, which brings me to you, Zohaib. So as the chairman of the Pakistan's IT Association, you come across a lot of challenges that the association faces that you take up to the government, but at the same time you're aware of a lot of opportunities in around the world as you see, and plugging them with the potential that's there in Pakistan, acting as a bridge. Where do you see most growth that has happened in the recent years within Pakistan, within the IT sector? Which areas, which sub-sectors have grown more and are an opportunity for people here as an investment or also as a partnership to collaborate with?
Thank you, Fasi. So the important part of Pakistan in the tech sector is the people. Because as we all know that we are the top 3 largest freelancing country. Other than that, we are the people who produce organizations like startups, Kareem, area in Africa, most of the stock exchange products is being developed in Pakistan. So the most important is the people. And the other opportunities is like in the gaming animation side, fintech, agri-tech. A lot of companies are, investing a lot of money in the scaling up their team in this area. For example, our last numbers, about $400 million we export just in gaming animation area. So these type of opportunities in Pakistan and within the government, especially under the leadership in the Ministry of IT, Excellency Syed Aminul Haq, we are now more focused on upbringing, upscaling the skill side, and the skill side more than the demand side, like in the blockchain, in the fintech area, and other in the Salesforce area. So there are a lot of areas in which the Pakistan is emerging and opportunities, and most of the, like recently the Google started their liaison office in Pakistan and in the tech system, and that's why now we are more focused as Pakistan as a tech destination Pakistan.
Thank you. And indeed, it's a journey, right? It's not just one destination. We achieve one thing and then we're on to the next. And it's a very evolving journey. Fatma, coming back to you again. So you represent a large pool of the tech talent as a consulting firm, as a global consulting firm. And again, the same question which I asked Zuhaib, but now towards the people rather than the organizational strength. So where do you see the right match between what you represent as an organization and what the demand is in the Middle East and Africa region?
Thank you very much. I believe this is extremely important. The supply and demand alignment is key to sustainability. As an organization, currently we have 4,000 people and Pakistan is the service delivery center. But we already have a footprint across 4 continents, including the African continent, working with some leading organizations, especially in the fintech digital payment space, integration through AI and RPAs as well as Apogee management, because of the relationships we have. And you're absolutely right, there is a challenge in terms of are we building momentum in terms of tech talent, availability to cater to regional demand from organizations, from our clients, from our customers as well. The good news is, at this point in time, collaboratively, not only in terms of the support that the government is extending in terms of facilitating tech institutes for technology stacks, but also in the private sector, there is a realization and an acceptance that we must invest more in terms of building tech talent. And this is not just about academia and industry linkages. This is sitting on the graduates that are coming out of universities and saying, are we enabling them through boot camps? Are we enabling them through the right future skill set, which could be 6 months, which could be 6 weeks? How is the onboarding process? And that is the realization of most of the corporate sector organizations which are operating in order to cater to the demand. I feel that it is an exponential demand at this point in time. If we just look at the numbers of the global market of the technology and IT-enabled services, it's $2.5 trillion. Out of that, what is the percentage of the market that each region is contributing? Yes, 60% of it is being driven by the US market, but there is 40% which is right now, and the numbers are increasing as we speak, depending on which area or component you're at. So there is the good news over here is that Pakistan is, one, very proficient in the English language. Two, it is also investing in AI-based tools in terms of language conversion and language translators. Three, the advent of AI is also enabling virtual agents. So if you look at the total capacity and the potential that exists in Pakistan, I believe it's just the beginning. And there is a latent, what my colleagues have also mentioned in terms of the population that we have. The focus and the commitment to enable next generation talent to cater to the world, especially the Middle Eastern and African market, is something which is very exciting. And the collaborations are building strength. We already are being enabled through many global leaders, global leading organizations, whether it is SAP or GCP, etc., to take those solutions to the world. But the access to talent, the war on talent, is something that we're navigating. I'm navigating as a business leader.
Another thing, thank you, Fatma. Another thing that I'd like you to comment on. Right now, it's unfortunate we don't have more women on this panel, but it's fortunate that we have you. And I look forward to a day where it's balanced or it's more tilted towards that side. But as a CEO of a company and as a woman leader in this space, how, and I'd request a very brief response so that we can close the panel with other comments as well. How do you think Pakistan has faced and the industry has evolved on diversity and inclusion?
I believe there is a great focus on a diversity, equity and inclusion mandate. Our own organization is at 30% to 70% ratio, and we're very focused in building women leaders at all levels, consciously ensuring inclusivity. As an industry, as a market, again, leading global players or corporate leaders are ensuring that their DE&I mandate is not just sitting at the HR level or even at the C level, it's sitting at the board level. So collectively as a country, there is an environment and ecosystem which is encouraging more women participation in the workforce. But we need to do more. We need to engage in terms of creating a culture which is safe, which is secure, which is enabling, and keeping in mind the cultural aspects of Pakistan. So we're on the right route, and we're building momentum, but we need greater engagement.
Thank you, Fatma. Junaid, Fatma mentioned a thing around skilling, upskilling, reskilling, building the talent. And I'd like you to briefly discuss, I know the government is doing a lot on this. What are the key interventions that the government of Pakistan has done in bringing about these boot camps and bridging the gap on skills or upscaling the existing talent that is there?
Okay, so before responding to your question, we have talked a lot about skills. I would just like to say a few words about the innovation ecosystem in Pakistan. Pakistani startups saw 400% increase in VC investment into them. So look at the global phenomenon, there is recession, but we are witnessing a lot of overseas investment into Pakistani startups. We saw a startup building the world's first bloodless dialysis machine. It's working in Pakistan, they are exporting, and then we have startups who are building human body parts, working directly with brain signals. So there are innovation also going on in Pakistan. And coming to your question, I think the key is there are studies. By 2030, the world will be facing a serious shortage of cybersecurity experts, for example. The number is quoted around 1 million cybersecurity experts will be required. Even with the pace that the world is moving, creating new skills, but still there will be challenge. Same is the case with other emerging technologies. So we are looking at the global demand as well. We are just not focusing on the local ecosystem. We are looking at the demand globally, and there are niche areas where there are very few countries who are working. So we are focusing on specific areas which are needed at the regional level. So we have very targeted approach in focusing on the skills. So there are some basic areas, and then there are niche areas, and I think the key direction that we are focusing is bringing industry into skill building. So right now the industry and academia are working together for enhancing the quality of existing the graduates and students, and at the same time upskilling the already workforce that is there in the industry. So we have to work on both the tiers, and it's a holistic approach that we have to improve the academia. At this, it's not that just the industry or the end training that works well. We have to improve the quality of graduate at the academia and in the universities as well, and then bring them to a level where industry can further improve their quality. So different stakeholders are working, and as I mentioned earlier, we are targeting in next 2 to 3 years produce 1 million skilled professionals in different areas, and we have been approached by different countries that okay, next 3-4 years these are the areas we need human capital on this. So we are focusing on different areas need, and if anyone is interested in looking at the future plans, we will be open and we will share what are we doing, and maybe they can tap into that human resource as well.
So that's a great opportunity, I think, for anyone here who wants to bring a boot camp to Pakistan, who wants to create a bridge between offering some certifications or any such accredited courses that you believe would be in demand, the skills out of which that come out are in demand. The government is here, the ministry and the associations are here to talk about. Not to mention that the Good Pakistani Pavilion is also not that far, in case you want to meet the software houses and the companies that are there, or some startups that are in North Star. Go look for Pakistani startups there. So we've talked a lot about this. I don't know how we are doing on the time. And all right, we have 5 minutes. We have 5 more minutes. Okay, thank you. So let's do a very quick one more round of questions, and I'll come to you, Nasir sir. Again, sorry. So you said you've been here for a long time, and you've been coming here, and for the past 30 years you're in this business. Where do you see the right partnership in terms of the region, the Middle East and Africa region, or Africa in particular, and Pakistan? Which areas? One you mentioned could be on government to citizen or government to business, vice versa services being automated. What are the other opportunities there where you believe more Pakistani companies can tap into, and vice versa, more African customers can actually reach out to?
Fasi, thank you. Generally speaking, the companies out of Pakistan, they possess necessary capacity to service multiple areas, like, for example, starting from financial services, fintech, industry, automation, but the gap and the most of the spending right now is focused on digital services for citizens, for businesses, by the governments. So, I mean, my experience says that, but obviously cybersecurity is on the agenda, financial services proliferation, financial inclusion, digital diversities. These are kind of things which are open to be filled in by most of the countries of African region. So I believe there is a huge. And by the way, to our surprise, when we started about 15 years ago, we were having a zero local inclusion, and today that component we have increased to about 25 to 30% local, leveraging local talent for their inclusion into, so that they also learn and to continue supporting their agendas. So that is very encouraging, because the youth in Africa is also being empowered and being lifted in terms of their skills to service their own needs for the future.
That's such a remarkable initiative that you're bringing in more local people, training them, onboarding them in these programs. Thank you. My last question, comments from the Chairman Pasha, Mr. Zuhaib Khan. So, you represent an association of such a fast-paced growing sector in Pakistan. And there are other associations here as well. We see many country pavilions. Where do you see an opportunity for collaboration with other associations and other businesses representing bodies,
So, as we all know that we recently had in multiple countries like similar pavilion and delegation. So we are already in touch with the National Association of Morocco, and we are planning to have a matchmaking collaboration